Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only, Ray the Flying Squirrel here, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, as you probably expected at this point in time. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars for the Super Nintendo / Super Famicom for those of you who lived in Japan, while the Nintendo Switch remake should be on its way. So, last time, we've essentially did manage able to finish up the rest of the final few portions during the forms of Nubus Land by taking care of the forms of not only Dudo, but also we did somehow stumble across into Bodo, of all things, inside the actual pink spotted egg. In addition to that, we also managed able to defeat it, Valetania. So as a result, we did somehow manage able to deal with that battle no problem, and especially noticeable with the forms of, you know, thanks to switching characters, and especially noticeable just equip the right equipment to able to deal with the battle. In addition to that, we also managed to stumble across into ourselves not only the strongest weapon for Mario, but also the strongest armor for, most notably for Princess Toadstool, most likely, to me anyway. But that's just because about the fact that we're still going to be using her during the forms of boss battles in particular, for the likes of healing spells and all that stuff, or healing special attacks, as far as I might add. So today, for this video, is about the fact that we're going to be heading back into Monstro Town, and because of that though, like I said before, since in yesterday's video, we're about able to face off against with Jinx, not only for the second time, but presumably the third time for the sake of the forms of the dojo session. So either way though, yeah, what I meant is about the fact that we're about able to face off against with him for, as I said before, the second time, but also with the third and possibly the final time. So, but either way though, I apologize for that little tongue twist in the end, folks, right there, because let me tell you something, there's some gem-packed full of content I wasn't able to actually bring this up. Although, first of all, before we dive right into this, however though, let's get onto the forms of the status for the sake of the forms of one of those optional fights, specifically where we try to face off against with the forms of Jinx for the second time, because obviously previously on the first round with him, previously he had 600 HP, but now on the second match he's now had 808 HP. So even then though, this is where the battle starts to get really difficult. Although I will say though is about the fact that this is also when Paper Mario also utilizes the forms of the dojo session here and there as well. However, except the fact that you can only take control of 2 characters instead of 3. So because of that though, and also not to mention though, it's a good thing we did somehow manage able to get ourselves not only the lazy shell for Mario for the weapon, just in case it'll deal so much damage, but also with the forms of the lazy shell for anyone else. Well, exponentially speaking, I'm using on Princess Toadstool because of, you know, the defense is actually really high. Although the only time exception though is of course the actual, let's just say by the forms of the devastating attack, or anything else to be more specifically, like every time when we, well, it's tricky to explain because I know for a fact that it's been about quite a few hours ago since I actually have last played this game for sure. Especially noticeable because, well, exponentially speaking, it's about the fact that I've been busy playing my Nintendo Switch, as you probably already expected at this point. Especially noticeable because I'm still waiting for the forms of, you know, the remake of Super Mario RPG is coming, so everything else will be pretty much expected until then. So either way, yeah, and that's pretty much it for the likes of the second round, and now we're going to be fighting against him with the third and the final time, and exponentially speaking, this one is going to be without doubt the toughest one of the bunch, mainly because about the fact that how aggressive he can be. So hopefully we're able to get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to likely trying to take care of him, obviously. So even then though, yeah, let's get the actual fight started. So either way though, and now he does have 1000 HP, so even though expecting this will be a very lengthy battle, but regardless of everything else though, you don't get any experience points or coins, but you do get yourselves a special accessory if you do manage able to beat him for about 3 times. So, exponentially speaking though, this will be very recommendable if you try to take on certain bosses or anything else to be more specific. So because of this though, yeah, a few things I want to explain for this points today, and that's what appears to be about the fact that today's date, of course, is the 20th of August today, in some cases in 2023 today. Only 12 more days to go until we move on to September, in some cases the beginning portion of autumn. So because of this though, Oh yeah, let's talk about the forms of some news and discussions I would like to point things out. Once when I was able to figure this battle out. First of all, is about the fact that there are some tons of new stuff has been happening. Like, for instance, there are some new games has been confirmed for the Nintendo Switch, and maybe for other platforms here and there as well. So exponentially speaking, it was about the fact that the first game they did revealed to be confirmed for the Nintendo Switch, and this one what appears to be known as the Creature Keeper. I've got no comments about that game, especially noticeable. It's there for the sake of the forms of the actual game's existence anyway. So, in case if you're curious to know what that game is going to be all about. And the second game has been revealed, and especially noticeable, it actually set a release date. And this what appears to be by the forms of NASCAR Arcade Rush. So because of that though, I think it's about to be released at some point in September, the same month as the forms of the physical version for both Pikmin 1 plus 2 double bundle pack for the Nintendo Switch. But we're not exactly sure what specific date is it going to be releasing on. Let me know in the comments down below. So either way though, and in addition to that though, is about the fact that there's a new controller that's going to be on its way, specifically for the Switch compatibility, and that's what appears to be by the forms of the 8-bit Do microcontroller is going to be revealed. So, yeah, if what I've looked at it though, it looks so ridiculously tiny. Although obviously about the fact that it will be pretty good when it comes to playing 2D platformers, especially noticeable when you're trying to deal with multiplayer and stuff like that for co-op, couch, or something like that. So, everything else though is about the fact that, at the very least though, it's actually being compatible for the Nintendo Switch at the very least. So that's actually pretty good news, especially noticeable because without it, obviously it'll make things a little bit more, how should I put it, kind of worthless if it's not compatible with the Nintendo Switch at all. So speaking of something related to the Nintendo Switch news, I would like to point things out, is that, well, we got some news to talk about, thanks to the forms of Splatoon 3, more news to discuss. Like, for instance, about the fact that there's going to be a new season is going to be on its way. To be more specifically, Drizzle season. So because of that though, and is expected to be coming until the 1st of September. So specifically, it's not long now until we move on to the next season for Splatoon 3. Despite the fact that I barely played a game for quite some time, but that's just because I'm getting distracted by the forms of not only the original version of Super Mario RPG as of now, but it's also because of how the fact that I haven't exactly gone around to able to go back into the game for quite some time, especially noticeable. I was still trying to consider to do a well, let's just say a Let's Play marathon when it comes to based off from Splatoon Trilogy or something like that. So even then though, that might be a bit of a possibility. So again, I apologize for that tongue twist in the end, folks, there, but that's just because I was pretty much hyped about this, especially noticeable because concerning about that specific point. Now, originally though, and by the way, as you can see, we got ourselves Jinx Belt. This will be a very helpful accessory, I might add, and it seems about the fact that Jinx did somehow manage to change a letter to M, which stands for Mario's Dojo. So every once in a while, them two are about to be able to keep on jumping a lot, and look at that, we got ourselves the M signature right there. So yeah, that's actually super top notch and everything. So I think we're basically done in here for now, apart from the fact that we can able to double check on things before we able to, you know, continue things on throughout the entire journey. So because of that though, I suppose we will be back for that for later, because something tells me we did somehow ignored one of the doors completely, but then again no, we'll wait until whatever we get to towards the end game, because let me tell you, it's gonna be quite of a challenge. So but either way though, we're not gonna get ahead of ourselves at this point. So anyways, let's go back into the forms of Nubus land right here, and because of that though, now we can able to go ahead and before we do anything, I need to buy something in here in the actual shop. So just in case, I do need to pick up some of those items in particular, so I can able to actually use them for, you know, in case of emergency health units or something like that. So anywho though, so yeah, in terms of the forms of something else entirely from the likes of the forms of Splatoon 3, there's also a new Splatfest is going to be on its way as well. And that's what appears to be buddy forms of these three host characters themselves, which appears to be buddy forms of Shiva, Fry, and Big Man. So, as a result, yeah, once again, it's going to be divided into 3 categories, just like the forms of how it does it for the ice cream desserts. Flavors and anything else to be more specifically. So even then though, that must have been said something. So even then, oh yeah, before I talk more details about the forms of another topic at this point, as you can see, we can now able to actually go past for this point, because now that Prince Mellow is now a prince after all, so as a result, we can now able to go into the hot spring section. So because of that though, and for one noticeable thing for the reason why we came in here in the first place is because not only we can able to actually take a nice relaxation in this hot spring water right here, but if you stand on there for too long, Mario's face just goes all like bright red, meaning it's way too hot in here. So pretty neat touch, I might add, especially noticeable because concerning that, unlike in Paper Mario the Origami King in one of those segments in the game called Spring Spa, basically though it's about the fact that it's all like rainbowy, and as a result you do able to recover full health. So, but either way though, spoiler alert for those of you who have not played the game yet, especially noticeable because still, I just can't really believe that game came out during the pandemic year. So because of that though, anywho though, so as you can tell about the fact that we did somehow switch things up a little bit for certain characters from now on, because obviously about that specific point that we'll save Princess Toadstool for later, because obviously she did quite enough for the forms of the dojo fights or anything else to be more specific, thanks to the forms of, you know, the lazy shell and everything. So I suppose we'll try to use her again at some point in the future. So because of that though, well not now anyway though, so, oh god, it looks like we're going into the actual volcano itself. And I think, for what I've noticed, is that this particular location is actually called Barrel Volcano. So even then though, it looks like we got able to traverse through certain lava elements to it though. So hopefully we're not going to have too much trouble with this particular place, I don't think. So, in fact, this particular place does remind me of a similar vibes as the forms of how it does it for Volcano Valley from the likes of Sonic 3D Blast a little bit, except the fact that obviously it's an RPG game, not an action platformer. So, although it does have some platforming moments from time to time, but either way though, that must have said something. So anyways, here we have ourselves some new enemy encounters that we did somehow come across into, and these are Magmus, and Magmus does have 50 HP, and they drop 3 coins if you kill them, and you get about 18 experience points if you defeat them. And there's also another enemy that we've already technically defeated earlier, that's what appears to be known as Armored Ant. Armored Ant does have 230 HP, and if you kill him, you receive 30 experience points, and they drop 5 coins. So that's about it, basically. So every once in a while that we will come across into certain recolored variations of the exactly same enemy types as we've already come across into in the past few areas ago. So, but either way, and I'm thinking about that specific point that will continue that tradition, and during at some point and towards the end game, basically. So even then though, speaking of the end game, I can't even believe we actually getting very close towards the end game right now. Although despite the fact that there are some slow uploading schedules recently, especially noticeable because of the forms of Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, presumably. So, but even then, and every once in a while though, it's about the fact that sometimes, you know, this always happens, you know. And speaking of such though, we actually come across into another 2 enemies right here, and this what appears to be known as, this dry bones looking enemy is actually known as, Voomer. Voomer does have 0 HP, but it functions quite infinitely, but they do drop no coins, and if you kill them, basically you get 19 experience points, which, of course, just like the forms of how it does on a regular dry bones enemy ever since in Sunken Ship, basically though you need to use one of your special moves until you're able to finish them off, because with your physical attacks will not work, so even then, just keep this in mind. And as far as another enemy, as you can tell, we stumbled across into Chained Kong. Chained Kong does have 355 HP, and as a result, if you kill him, basically you get 35 experience points, and you receive 8 coins if you finish them off. So, yeah, that's about it, basically. But there are some more enemies we will able to actually search for during at some point once we're able to continue exploring for the forms of Barrel Volcano, presumably. So, even then, though. Now, I think, if I'm assuming correctly, that when it comes to the forms of Barrel Volcano, I think this is where the 6th star piece is going to be located. So, even then, though, because since that we're going to be exploring in the actual volcano itself, so my guess is that the actual color for the 6th star piece is going to be red. So, because obviously it makes a little bit more sense, able to match the color. So, you know, kind of like the forms of how it does it in Red Volcano Zone in Sonic Blast, where if you come across into the special stage, specifically on the 2nd act on Sonic Blast, for the sake of the forms of, you know, Red Volcano Zone, basically you get yourselves a Red Chaos Emerald, so I guess that makes it pretty obvious, huh? Looks like we're not doing too bad for getting some very lucky moments thanks to the forms of lucky flowers that we keep on getting. And especially it really helps about the fact that every time whenever we get Yoshi, then it really truly helps. So, anyway, here's another enemy right there, and this one appears to be known as, Uyakin. I think that's what it says anyway. Uyakin does have 85 HP, and they don't drop any coins, but they, give you, like, 22 experience points, if I'm assuming so anyway. Assuming, of course, about the fact that since that we did somehow finish them off quickly, thanks to the forms of one of those devastating special attacks for Geno. So it looks like we're actually getting very close to level 20 for Mario right there. So even then though, and that can be also applied for Mallow as well. So assumably we were able to actually reach consecutively, once we reach to like, I don't know, level 21 or level 22, then we should be all set when it comes to likely become a lot stronger than the forms of how it does it on the previous enemies that we've already encountered. Oh, and speaking of which though, is about the fact that if you dare manage to come across into the previous enemies in the previous areas, obviously you get like less experience points, so nothing right to harm about or anything else like that, so just want to classify that right from the start. But anywho though, there's also another thing I should probably explain about this. Originally, I was expecting to try to mention something related to the actual football thingy right there, but of course, like I said before, it's probably best if we let Tiana were able to mention more about it during the course of in tomorrow's video for Kirby's Eternal Dreamlands Deluxe. And especially noticeable, this also includes for, you know what I mean, the Mario Kart Tour content for its next tour coming up. So even then though, I'm sure that she'll explain more anything else about it. So anyway, in addition to the forms of how the fact that the next Splatfest season is going to be involved around with the 3 host characters, presumably, but also in addition to that, about the fact that not only that these 3 hosts is also going to be able to gain ourselves the, well, it's hard to explain really, because I know for a fact it's been quite a while since I actually have mentioned something related to Splatoon 3 stuff, but I do know for certain for one thing, they're obviously going to be getting ourselves the 3 other amiibos based off from, what else? The 3 host characters, which is of course, Fry, Big Man, and especially noticeable with the forms of Shiver as well, in some cases Deep Cut, Trio. So because of that though, yeah, it's pretty insane if you ask me. Now in terms of the forms of the release dates for those 3 amiibos combined into one, it's expecting to be releasing around the same day as the Super Mario RPG remake. So pretty bizarre, I might add, but I'm sure enough though about the fact I'm sure that the Splatoon fans will be pretty excited about this. So, but we're still really hoping about that specific point that we might able to actually get some confirmation about the forms of when does the final Super Smash Bros. Amiibo is going to be releasing for the sake of the forms of Sora, because obviously I desperately want to know, even though it's kind of difficult at the moment, because obviously, well, I was expecting about the fact that it will try to mention more about it. Let's just say until it gets to the point until on the general Nintendo Direct coming up, so assuming of course that'll take place on next month, presumably, so yeah, you probably get the idea about the fact that every once in a while with the isometric platforming gets a little bit difficult at the moment, but regardless of everything else though, it's about the fact that, well, luckily though you don't die or anything else like that, or thankfully you don't get a game over if you manage able to keep on touching the lava, because obviously if you touch the lava, obviously about the fact that you just get pushed back, so... Anyway, and as you can see, we stumbled across into yet another enemy encounter, and this time what appears to be body forms of the names are Ferrosphere. Ferrosphere does have 167 HP, and they drop 2 coins, and if you kill them, you get about 17 experience points. So, yeah, that's about it, basically. So, even then, no. I think there's going to be more enemies coming up for it, so, exponentially speaking, though, is about the fact that we've almost pretty much done when it comes to able to look upon the actual status for certain enemy encounters for, you know, Barrel Volcano, basically. So, even then, no. It seems kind of weird able to know that since despite this enemy right there, Chained Kong, looks exactly like Donkey Kong, except with the lack of tie and everything, it seems pretty cool to able to actually see Bowser gonna take on a Gorilla Kong of all things, which that was before one of those event missions, specifically Super Smash Bros. Melee, that basically does about the fact that it's kind of cool, honestly. So, oh, and by the way, to get that frog coin, you need to get yourself burned in that specific angle. That way you can able to actually get that frog coin. And, this particular isometric platforming might felt a little bit awkward at points, especially because, again, if you mess up one of those timing jumps or what have you, you have to able to go all the way back. So, and this gets really irritating and during at some point towards the end game. But thankfully though, we did somehow got the frog coins for right now, so everything else will be pretty much expected at this point. So, anyway, so I just need to... dang it. Sometimes I will admit though, getting to one place to the other can be felt a bit awkward at times because of how dark it is, so... But hopefully we'll try to able to finish them off quickly before we move on to the next area, so... Oh yeah, something's worth noting for about the fact no matter what though, is that, well, presumably speaking though, unfortunately though, one of those games needs to be delayed at some point until next year, so as far as I'm aware, whenever I was going to able to know about something, the game is actually called Macross Shooting Insight. Apparently though, that game is going to be delayed until 2024, not only on the Nintendo Switch, but also on PC Steam, and of course PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. So, yeah, that's about it basically. So, even then though, in terms of other stuff I could possibly mention about, oh yeah, there's also some gem pack full of Sonic content here and there as well. Although, before I get into more details onto this though, there's another game that's been announced recently, and that's what appears to be known as The Walking Dead Destinies. So, yeah, I think that's all I can really say about this, even though it doesn't show us the release date for the actual game yet. But I'm sure enough we're able to actually bring this up during at some point in the future time. So everything else will be pretty much expected. So, and also we got ourselves a new anime is going to be releasing on Netflix. And it's going to be releasing in journey forms of also around the same time as in Super Mario RPG Remake. That's what appears to be body forms of Scott Pilgrim. I think is what it says anyway. Although it did say Scott Pilgrim takes off, so even then no, it's expecting to be releasing on Netflix on the 17th of November. And as I said before, it's going to be releasing around exactly the same time as the, you know, Super Mario RPG Remake on the Switch. So that's actually super dope and everything. So, anywho though, aside from all that stuff though, let's talk about the forms of new content they'll bring for not only for the likes of the forms of Sonic Forces Speed Battle, but also with Sonic Dash as well. And that's the perfect example of why I haven't exactly touched upon Sonic Dash for quite some time, especially after the events of whenever I managed able to fully unlock not only LEGO Sonic the Hedgehog, but also with LEGO Amy Rose, and especially noticeable with LEGO Tails. And as a result, about the fact that, well, obviously we're still in the middle of the forms of Cream the Unicorn outfit, which we technically already got, thanks to the forms of those event tokens, so everything else will be pretty much settled by then. And as a result, we're about to be getting Panda Amy, so because of that though, I'm curious able to know what that's going to be about, despite the fact that it's all cosmetic and everything, so... Oh, and on top of all that stuff though, they are able to actually bring a familiar Knights of the Round Table kind of character based off from Sonic and the Black Knight. And that's what appears to be body forms of, well, what else? There appears to be body forms of, well, let's just say, Sir... I don't know what usually it's called, I'm afraid, because relatively speaking though, it's been a very long time since I actually have last played Sonic and a Black Knight, but basically what can I usually describe as, there's another cosmetic character for Silver the Hedgehog. So because of that though, now I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about, and that's that back in during the forms of Sonic and a Black Knight, you're not able to unlock Silver the Hedgehog in that game, and that's what appears to be about the fact you need to beat, without a doubt, the hardest fight in the game, which appears to be Lancelot Returns, which as a result you do manage to get that mission once you beat the game once. So once you defeat the forms of the Dark Queen as it is. So relatively speaking though, that boss is super tough, especially notably if you try your best able to try to get the 3-star rankings. Well, good luck for that, because well, that boss is really difficult. Anyway, and as you already know, is about the fact that we actually stumbled across into another set of enemies, which, honestly, folks, I can't really tell at this point, because I know for a fact despite the fact I wasn't exactly paying attention, but basically we come across into, not only from the likes of the forms of, the body, but also with the forms of Crocopede. Crocopede does have 200 HP, and they drop 10 coins, and they give you 50 experience points. And as far as the body is concerned, they don't give you any coins, but for the body itself does have like 300 HP, but at the very least it did give you for about 30 experience points. So, and finally, most notably, is the forms of Stumphead. Stumphead does have 500 HP and 70 experience points, and I'm not exactly sure of how much coins you get, but that's just because that stupid ad just keeps on blocking my description. Although if I've noticed, it will give you about 15 coins. So yeah, that's about it basically. So I think that pretty much takes care of every single enemies as far as the forms of Barrel Volcano as far as this is concerned. So even everything else though, yeah, it's all nice and fine and dandy and everything. So even then though, now in terms of everything else I could possibly explain about this as well, and that's what it appears to be about the fact that, well, relatively speaking though, it's about the fact that I was assuming that, I don't know about you, because I know for a fact it's been quite a few days since I actually mentioned something relates to the forms of something else I've been doing. Well, I do know for certain for one thing, and that's what appears to be about the fact that apparently though, that it looks like that both Tiana and Jewel are busy to somehow manage able to fix up the actual radio box or Alexa or something like that. They're able to actually put on some little summery themed music in the background, which I don't suppose if you noticed, but thankfully though we did somehow address the actual like a volume adjustment, so just to ensure that I don't usually get interrupted by copyright music, because we don't want to let the actual copyright music decide able to come into play for any like you know what I'm saying, with all that particular restrictions or specifically demonetized or anything else like that. So I mean, for the most part with Barrel Volcano, it looks pretty cool though. Although sometimes though, that with isometric platforming, it might get a bit obnoxious at points. But regardless of such though, we actually got some more coins, and we can able to meet up with this guy right here. So hopefully we're able to actually just to like go inside in here, and that way we can able to actually access to not only one, but 3 other things with this guy. Like for instance, we can able to like actually access to an inn, which as a result that we can able to fully regenerate our health, including flower points as well, by just like that, by laying down just like that, without any blankets or anything else like that. Kind of weird. And also, as you can see, there are some 3 other cameos here and there. Like, for instance, we got an arm wing based off from Star Fox, and Blue Falcon, and also the another vehicle which I honestly forgot about. Now, I know for certain those 2 F-Zero vehicles are definitely right onto, like, the middle and the right. So, yeah, we actually got ourselves another Nintendo references. So previously we've come across into Link from The Legend of Zelda and Samus from the Metroid games, and also we come across into an arm wing for Star Fox and the 2 F-Zero vehicles. So how amazing is that? I mean, it's no surprise about the fact that the Switch remake will able to actually have the exactly same Nintendo references here and there. So I will be really excited for that. So Anywho though, that's as far as I can say about this, to be honest with you guys. Like, I know for a fact that we would have liked able to explain something else for that matter though, but I'm sure that, Tiana will able to actually explain more details about other stuff until tomorrow, like I said before. And it seems about the fact that, as you can see, we actually purchased every single fire, armors for all the characters. So, that should be all good, all things considered, especially noticeable because we do definitely need to equip some of them, despite the fact that I'm probably not going to use it on Peach though, because obviously I'll be using her for later for the sake of the forms of trying to take on the next boss fight. Not the next boss fight coming up, but the next one afterwards. So, and exponentially speaking, though, it's about the fact that I get this strong sense of feeling there's going to be a safe spot somewhere. Although, relatively speaking, though, it's about the fact that I'm also able to consider this right now. That, I don't think we was able to come across into a safe spot in the last bit during the forms within the Barrel Volcano, as far as I'm concerned. So, oh, and also another thing as well is about the fact that, oh jeez, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little bit hot today. But that's just because about the fact that it looks like we actually stumbled across into a mini heat wave right now, for the sake of the forms of the UK, which I will say, the weather conditions is actually a slight of improvement over the likes of how it does it for last month, because jeez, we're getting overboard with all that continuous rains and anything else to be more specific. So, although there might be still occasional rains every once in a while, which always feels a bit obnoxious at points, but still. Alright, time to do some isometric platforming, folks, and yeah, this is where things gets a lot more difficult around here. So hopefully, third time's the charm for luckiness. There we go, we somehow made it. But, before we get into that though, let me go ahead and change my characters quickly. So just in case I can able to actually sort something out, so, and exponentially just trying to able to equip certain stuff throughout for its accessories department, so. And speaking of which though, I don't think it's possible we can able to actually go after the 6th star piece for this video, but definitely in the next video for sure. Specifically for next weekend, if presumably for this matter, so. Oh jeez, what they're about to do right here. It looks like they're gonna go into this, a weird dragon monster. Which pretty much leads us to the next boss fight. Now, I believe that this entire boss fight does have one slight weakness, and that's what it appears to be, something relates to Mallow's special move. But we're not going to use the actual snowy special move just yet, because obviously we need to let him summon the forms, those little weird mini, like, whatever this is supposed to be. But I'm sure you probably already know what I mean by that, so. And it looks like he did summons the these little thingies right there. So yeah, best to recommend using Snowy right here, because that way, if you manage to leave one of them alive, I believe this particular weird dragon monster will be able to heal himself if he does manage to take one of those weird orb stuff. So best strategy is just use Snowy wisely, but don't waste any of your flower points. So. Anywho, in terms of the forms of the boss fight we're going to be fighting against right now, I believe there are about 2 phases we have to deal with. Like, the first phase we have to take on is, Zero Dragon. Zero Dragon does have, let's just say 1,400 HP, and you get about 100 experience points if you finish him off, I think. But, on the other hand, it doesn't give you any coins at all, which I'm guessing because of how the fact that, well, I got nothing more to add. So, and this is where the boss fights gets a little bit significantly harder as you're able to progress. Especially noticeable. I was expecting if I was trying to bring Peach along, or Princess Toadstool for that matter, but then again though, we'll use her again, and during at some point in the ending portion of Barrel Volcano. So, that's essentially what I'm going to be focus on, so everything else though seems to be the case, so yeah, it's a good thing we did somehow bring Mallow into this fight, because without him, then obviously it makes the fight a little bit difficult, so yeah, look how much damage it took, even especially noticeable, that'll be a super effective way for dealing with these little orb piece stuff, so oh, he's not down yet. but I could probably able to actually start able to use more of my items or something. I would have liked able to use one of the rock candies or fire things, whatever you want to call it, or anything else to be more specific, but I think I should probably use the max mushroom for Mellow, just in case you don't want to let Mellow die right there, because with the lack of, you know, Princess Toadstool into our team, we don't seem able to have come back. So, oh wow, Bowser got very lucky right there, which I was very proud for him either way. So anyways, let's go ahead and keep on doing some physical attacks, and if you think this battle's done, well, it's not exactly over yet, because it looks like we're now on to the second phase, and A just pulls off a most powerful special attack for him. So yeah, it looks like Mario dies. So no matter what though, we'll go ahead and use pick me up item for Mario, just in case he definitely needs to survive in this battle, and because that was a nice little freebie too, which is always a nice little pleasure surprise. So anyway, in terms of the second phase we're going to be dealing with, this guy is known as Zombone. Zombone does have 1800 HP, or specifically 1800 HP, and I think it gives you about 50 experience points, but much like the forms of how it does it on Czar Dragon, it does not give you any coins. And as far as I'm aware, for the later boss battles to come, it does not give you that much coins, which it wasn't until whatever we get to towards the end game that it will start to give you a lot of coins. So, well, exponentially speaking anyway, so... But, yeah, that's as far as I can say about the forms of today's discussion at this point, folks. I mean, sure, about the fact, no matter what, though, is about the fact that I'm just, you know, pretty excited about to see what's going to be happening during the forms of, September during that time, but even then, though, I think I've already explained it well enough as it is. One thing that was a little bit weird to me, anyway, is that, you know, with that The Walking Dead game, as I mentioned about, which is, of course, The Walking Dead Destinies, it looks like, once again, Game Miller is going to be working on it. Especially noticeable that, obviously, we're about to be getting a new DreamWorks kart racing game ever since in 12 years ago, since on the previous generation of consoles, except on the Wii U, because, you know, the Wii U is a flop, so everything else will be pretty much expected to come, but even then, though, that's as far as I can usually say about that, I guess. Even though sometimes I will admit though, this battle might take a bit of while to actually just to deal with, especially noticeable that I was expecting if I was trying to able to utilize my ultra jump quickly, so just in case I can able to actually do a devastating blow, but still, trying to get like 30 jumps or even possible or impossible method by going for 100 consecutive jumps with that specific jump special move attack is pretty impossible, like especially noticeable it requires an absolute perfect timing if you're trying to able to pull this off. I've seen a lot of speedrunners attempt to do this, and I was gonna try one during the forms of not only on the Wii U Virtual Console re-release version, but also on the Wii Virtual Console re-release version. Well, maybe it's possible on the Switch remake if that comes out, and especially noticeable with the forms of the Super Nintendo Classic Mini version that I was gonna desperately want able to pull that specific cool trick. But I just keep on getting worse luck with the forms of getting those consecutive jumps or anything else like that. Maybe because it needs to be about a frame second, or it's all depending on, like, I don't know, timing button presses. This feels a bit kind of laggy at points, for me anyway. And once again, my laptop is actually lagging again, which is not that great. But hopefully we'll try to fix that at some point, but even then though, yeah, everything else will be pretty much expected at that point, so... No, I'm sure enough though, I believe I'll ask Tiana to able to actually fix that particular lag-free for the actual laptop anyway, so... Just in case about the fact that we won't be able to have so much slow-paced moments for our uploading schedules at this point, despite the fact that I'm pretty sure about the fact that we actually, well, you know what I'm saying. So there we go, that pretty much takes care of the forms of Zombone. So, yeah, we're not exactly done with this yet, though, because like I said before, exponentially speaking, though, is about the fact that obviously there's no safe spots or anything else to be more specifically. Although you can go back if you wanted to, but I would not recommend doing that, because obviously about that you will able to come across into a lot of enemy encounters with the forms of Pharaoh Spheres or anything else like that. I mean, it is possible you can able to save if you go backwards a little bit and try to able to heal your not only your flower points but also with your forms of your health anyway too. But I'm probably not going to do that anyway, so even though I know it sounds a little bit more redundant to able to actually just to try to able to skip the actual save spot, but I just really want to get this area finished before we move on to the final frontier. So with that being said though, I think we should probably ending stuff this point right here. So join me next time for more Let's Play of Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, and that's what appears to be about the fact that I think not only we can able to actually receive the 6th star piece, but I think something tells me we will come across into yet another boss fight in Barrel Volcano. So I'll see you guys until next weekend. Later, fellas.